I'll talk through it pretty quickly because I know we've done a lot of this, but I'll record it so you can look at it. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little. We know that Andrew's collecting money on the walkathon one. So if he is asking his neighbors to donate $1.50 per kilometer, if he doesn't walk at all, he gets no money. But if he walks 2 kilometers, he gets $3, right? And if he walks 4 kilometers, he gets 6. And every time, by looking at the pattern, if he goes up $3 every 2 miles, $1.50 1 mile, but I only have every other mile, right? Yes, it's a ratio table. That's exactly right. So this is 12. So when you plot those points here, you just would have these points here. This would be 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18, because that tells us we're counting by 3.
That's right.
So you'd have the point 0, 0, the point 2, 3, the point 4, 6, the point 6, 9, and the point 8, 12.
Yeah.
Okay? So over here, you have the temperature problem, and it says at 12 a.m., that's like midnight, the temperature is 16 degrees. From there, for the next several hours, the temperature rises by an average of 4 degrees per hour. So this is going to be 20, 24, 28, 32, right? So if you were going to draw that graph, since this is set as 8, this has to be 16, that has to be 24, that has to be 32, and so on and so forth. This has to be 40. So 0, it says here, is 12 a.m. So at 12 a.m. it's 16 degrees. At 1 a.m. it's 20 degrees, which isn't one of my grid marks, so I could skip to 2 a.m. and put 24 degrees. Or at 1 a.m. I could carefully think about where 20 degrees would be, and it'd be right in between. Okay? So at 4 a.m. it's 32 degrees, so it's rising steadily. So right there. Or I could skip, or I could go back and say it would be halfway in between. Okay? If I wanted to, I could connect them with a line, because it does show a trend. Probably that line is a little thick. So you might want to make your line thinner, because it sort of clouds information. So use a nice sharpened pencil. Okay? So next, use the graph, it says, and tables provided in problem 1 to answer the following questions. If Andrew walks 10 kilometers, so if Andrew walks 10 kilometers, that's right here, how much money can he expect to raise? Well, if you put another thin line in, you could use that for predicting. And I'm going to just put it in red. If I follow the pattern here, that line will show me that if Andrew walks 10 kilometers, he's going to raise $15. And I would like to see that, if that's your work, you guys, you should show your work. How are we doing so far?
Good.
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 Okay, at what time will the temperature be 28 degrees? So that's on this graph over here.
3 o'clock.
So 28 degrees would be in between 24. Yeah, in fact, you can get that from the chart.
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could also get it from the graph if you're careful and you want to use your graph to project over.
Purple.
You could go to 28 degrees right there, and it should show 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
That make sense? Okay, on this one, okay, we did yesterday?
No.
Okay, well, the correct answers, let's just go through the answers. You should have graph 6 here. Graph, yeah, when Anna runs, she runs at a steady pace, so steady pace is a straight line. Zoe rode her bike up a hill slowly and steadily increased her speed. And it's telling you X has to be time and Y has to be distance. So if she goes slowly, she's not covering a lot of distance at first. And then she gets faster. So you want to put 4? Well, let's put 4 for a minute and we can come back to it. So if this were distance, what you're saying is the distance over time is not very great, but then as she gets farther on, she gets kind of a spurt and she covers more distance at the end. Maybe the hill wasn't as steep at the end.
Yeah, it's going down.
No, it's going uphill, but you've gone up hills before where they're steep at first and then they're less steep.
Yeah.
So you might increase your speed at the top of the hill and cover more distance. The longer a movie is out, the number of people that go to see it decrease. So we're only looking for a decreasing graph.
2.
Has to be 2.
Let's go. You're bored.
The temperature was 70 degrees for the entire track meet.
Number 3.
Yep.
No.
Because it says this is time and this is temperature. So temperature never changed, so that must be 70.
Yeah.
It must be. Antonio.
I don't get how it starts on the first time.
For number 3,
It's at 70 degrees.
because it says the temperature was 70 for the whole track meet,
So
and it says X is time and Y is temperature. So if this is temperature, it's just for the track meet.
It's not like the whole.
It's not like the whole day, it's just saying during the track meet it was 70 degrees.
That's why I got confused and I thought that was practice.
Yes, but it's pretty much saying that the temperature.
Well, because if it was 6, it would increase in temperature.
Yeah.
Right. The whole
But now
time.
it goes 70.
Yeah.
Number 3
Which
shows
would be
no
bad.
change.
Number 3 shows no change if the y-axis is temperature. And so that's why it's, but what happened was you were thinking 70 is a steady temperature, right? But it's not a steady increase. That's what you were thinking. The temperature's steady, but it's not increasing steadily. So when Sam did jumping jacks for 2 minutes, he started off fast, and then his pace gradually slowed down, but he's still increasing the number of jumping jacks. Oh, I forgot to mark Sam absent. So 1 has to be, this is the number of jumping jacks.
Yeah.
Did this remind you about
Yeah, it did. So 1. So if we did everything right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 should be the last answer, but let's see if it makes sense. Luke walks home to school at a steady pace for 2 blocks. Stops at Lucas's house, that could be a stop, right? And then walks at a faster steady pace. Steeper line, right?
Yes.
As long as this is distance. Okay, I'm going to pause this and put fix my attendance. All right, on the next page here, so what you should have gotten for the first one is 4.5 miles. And basically you look at the highest point, which is about here. Whoops, this counts by ones. So the highest point is right between 4 and 5. And that's how high, that's the distance, right? So they hiked 4.5 miles. If they left at 6:30, what time did they arrive at the lake? What'd you get, Jen? 9:30, because it took them 3 hours. Good job.
Oh, I had 3:30 because I thought that was the hours. I changed it to 9:30 because that's what I meant.
Yeah, you have to do the reading. So that happens. Along the way, gonna wait, guys. Along the way, they stopped and ate a snack. Connor, where did that happen?
In between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
Into the hike, right? How long did they, so that would be right here, they're stopped, how long did they stop for?
An hour.
30 minutes, right? Good. Okay, when was their pace the slowest, Peter?
1.5 hours to 2 hours.
Or,
They didn't even move.
there's two places, right?
I said 1 hour to 2 hours.
I did 1 hour to.
Not 1 hour. Kate, what about you?
I said 1.5 to 1. Sorry, 0.5 to 1.5.
Yeah, so it's true, you guys, the slowest pace is right here,
Oh, I thought.
but that's also the same as right here.
I thought they meant like what time was it?
It's their pace. Listen to the idea. If you have a slow pace, you cover less distance in 1 hour.
Yeah, but they didn't.
So would it be the 1.5 to the?
Time out, guys. It's the two yellow parts. Do you see that?
Okay,
So if I needed to think about this was 6:30 right here, right? This would be between 7 and 8, right? 7 o'clock or 6:30? Yeah, and 8 o'clock. And between 9 o'clock, sorry, 9 and 9:30.
I don't know if they do or do that at both.
Both.
Both?
Yeah, both.
I should, well, oh.
It's both.
I did 1 hour to 2 hours.
I did 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock myself.
Yeah,
But it's both. I'm telling you guys, then you lose a half point.
But it's real.
Time out, guys. There's two parts to that answer. There's two times where the pace is equally slow. Kate.
Wouldn't it be 1.5 to 2 because they haven't done anything and then 2.5 to 3. But that's really common. That's not when they're walking though.
Wait a minute. Yeah, you guys look right here. There's way too much talking. Way too much talking. Let's zoom in. It is about pace though, because in this 1 hour, that's 1 hour of time, right?
Yep.
They've covered only 1 mile. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the same as in this half hour, they covered a half mile. Same pace.
Excuse me.
The pace is equally slow there.
An hour they go a mile and in a half hour they go a half.
So then the next question is when was their pace the fastest? That's easier to see, right? What is it, Kaden?
0.5 hours.
So in the first 30 minutes would be a way to say that, right? Or, yeah, you could just say in the first 30 minutes or at 6:30 to 7, from 6:30 to 7.
So you can get to or you have to.
So you could say in the first 30 minutes or from 6:30 to 7. Okay, moving on. So this next one, you should have said the independent variables is the number of shirts. Nope, it's whatever's on the x-axis here.
Oh.
The cost at each store for 30 t-shirts, so if you look at 30 t-shirts, under tech tees you get 200. Do you guys agree?
I agree. Yes, I do.
And hot tops, what do you get?
180.
180. Good. Okay. For 15 t-shirts, you have to do some looking in between points. 15 t-shirts would be right here.
Yeah, I got one.
So if we zoom in a little bit, you can see that would be 125. My line's a little thick, but it's halfway in between.
I got 150.
125. Do you see your mistake, Connor?
Well,
Because 15 shirts is halfway between 10 and 20. And really, guys, to do a nice job on this, I'm going to wait till it's quiet. You need to be quiet. You need to use a straight edge and you'll have more accuracy. So you pick up a ruler and just look at it on your graph. And then in the table, So on this table one, you don't have 15 shirts, but you do know this goes up by 60 each time.
So yeah.
So halfway between, it would only go up by 30, so this would have to be 90.
I got the hot top right.
Okay, good. Jen, do you have a question?
Well, it's a comment about what I did.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I'm gonna wait again until it's quiet. Do you need something? I feel like there's a conversation going on every time we turn around. Okay. Jen, and then Kate.
so I kind of realized that so with hot tops, I got 15 is half 30.
Right.
Or I just like divide it into two, and then I saw that the other one. So if you divided it into two, the tax piece, I thought it was gonna be 100, but if they would charge more for less.
It doesn't work because it didn't start at 0, 0. Remember we talked about sometimes these are like ratio tables and sometimes aren't? For it to be like a ratio table where you could just double and count in half, you have to start at 0, 0. So you could have cut it in half, but then you would have had to subtract.
Subtract like what it didn't.
You'd have to subtract 50 first and then cut it in half.
Yeah.
That's harder. Use the graph. But it's not impossible to do it the other way. Kate was next.
For C on hot tops, I got $80, and you got 90. What'd you get?
Okay, because on hot tops, the value of the cost increases $60 for every 10 shirts. Do you see that? Like this is going to be 300 here.
Yeah, that's right.
But for 5 shirts, then it would only increase $30. So 60 plus 30 makes 90.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Carson.
So like, one of the first questions we did, I think in the last book, it had something about the bicycling thing.
Yes.
And the numbers just kind of went up randomly, I
Right.
guess. Would we ever have a test question like that? A little off?
Not this year, but you do next year.
Alright.
Mhm. Okay, so I changed the format a little bit here. I showed you guys already. You have like a D, E, F, G, H.
Really,
But the questions are pretty much the same. So if Mr. Chu has $150 to spend, okay, how many t-shirts do you think you could buy at Tech Tees? So again, you want to take a nice thin line with your ruler and go to Tech Tees and go to 150 and read over. Whoops, let's zoom in. And get right on that line, and it happens to land right on a point, so you could see it's 20, right? So those pictures are a little small for a recording. So you could buy 20 shirts, and with hot tops for the amount of money, 150, you kind of have to look in between, right? So halfway between 120 and 180 is 150. So you're correct, it's 25 when that's 150. And so on your paper it says more, does he get more or less? He gets 5 more if he goes to hot tops. On my new version it doesn't. So for what value of the t-shirts is the price exactly the same?
50 t-shirts.
50 t-shirts, they both cost 300. You can see that here. And then there's a 300 there.
Oh.
And if you couldn't do that, oops, 50, I should have said 50. I wrote 30. Okay, so if you couldn't figure that out, Jen, you could have plotted the points on the table and you would have had 0, and you would have plotted the 50 hopefully because you would have filled that in. And then you would just take a line, a nice thin line, and connect them, from 0 to 50 and all those other points. You don't even need them all if you get those 2. So one thing I want you to see is with that, if I keep that nice thin line and just trace over this line, so you see if after 50, I'm going to zoom in here. Can you see the better deal for a while is going with the blue line?
whoa.
So Tech Tees was the black line. And the question is, when is the deal, which place gives the better deal? And the answer is, it depends. So what's the answer?
Well, it's Hot Tops until it gets to 50 shirts.
Right. Hot Tops, the light blue line, this one here that I'm moving, it's cheaper until you get to 50 shirts. At 50 shirts, it's the same. And if you buy more than 50 shirts, the black line's cheaper because it's lower.
Kind of like our go-karting question. Yeah.
Right, it's just like,
Concept.
so do you think I might ask you something like that?
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Well, you know that Hot Tops goes up by 60 each time, so you know what it's going to be.
True. So if he buys less than 50 shirts, right? He should use less than 50 shirts. He should use which? Hot Tops, right? If he buys more than 50 shirts, he should use Tech, right? Tees. And if he buys 50 shirts,
It doesn't matter.
right. If he buys 50 shirts,
You can use whichever one's lower.
he can go with either. Right? Hayden.
Are these actually like teacher companies?
No, I just was making them up as I was typing.
Wait, Hot Tops is a better name. Is that like a good deal for?
T-shirts. I used to buy T-shirts all the time for kids when I had a team, and I would say, you know, that's pretty standard. If you buy like in the hundreds, you can get T-shirts before you silk screen them and put designs on them for $2 to $3. Yeah, and then they put the artwork on, and they usually cost a little bit. But the way you pay for artwork is you have to pay them to make the design, and that could be like $100.
It's like the shirt itself does not.
Yeah, so you're really paying for that, and then the more shirts you buy, the cheap. Yeah.
It sort of seems like the shirt would be how much tax.
Well, if you buy with a company, like sometimes if you buy local, you pay tax. But the tax is still much smaller than the actual. Once you buy a bunch of shirts, the price of the actual shirt goes down and down. So that's not an unrealistic data set. Yeah, I think we did talk about this.
How they were getting more and more.
Right. I'm just going to grab something real quick from another file because I'm going to pause this.
Wait, are you?
Okay, finishing up. The answers that you should have gotten yesterday when you worked on this. Wow, where'd that come from? Okay, it's 35 students, the range of 6. It's hard to see these numbers. This is 10, 9, 8. This is 2, 3, 4, so 5, 6, 7. So the range is 6. The mode should be the range. The highest number minus the lowest number is the range.
Oh, I thought it was just the highest number. I'm thinking of.
The mode is the most common. When you do the median, you should have gotten 8.
Wait, which?
I got 8.
How?
I'll help you. Hold on to the thought, okay?
Oh, I can do it. Can I demonstrate it?
Can we just check the answers first? And the mean is 7.3.
Wait, I got 7.3, but then I rounded down.
Okay, so are you ready for me to go through this with you?
I'm confused. How did you get 6?
Highest number is 10, lowest number is 4. The range is the difference between the highest number and the lowest number.
Oh,
You're gonna, time out, you gotta put your hands down because I'm gonna go through this problem, and if at the end you don't understand something, you can ask questions.
I like an idea, 'cause I
Okay.
like-
So, the median is the middle number. Can I help, Peter?
No.
Okay, are you gonna continue to cause distractions, you two? Good, because we don't have time for that. All right. The median's the middle number. There's 35 data points in this set. I need to divide that by 2, and I get 17.5. That means the 18th number is the median. That's from what we learned this last couple of weeks. Okay? So going to this page where you can see better, the 18th number, I'm going to count from the lowest to the highest in order. So 1, 2, I have to go back to the bottom. Remember we did this? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's the 18th number.
Oh, so it's 8.
It's 8.
Because you have to round.
No, I didn't round. I rounded to 17.5. Yeah. Okay. If I want to do a box and whisker plot, right away, I can put my low in there. That's 4. I usually do a dot because that way I don't get all my lines mixed up. My high is 10. My median I can now place as 8. You understand that? So that's going to be the line that goes through part of the box. I need to get Q1 and Q3 next. So I have to look at, this is where I kind of closed things off for you guys yesterday. I need to look at basically this part of the data now, the bottom half of the data. Okay, so we don't really need the screen. I just want you to think about that as you're only looking at half the data to get the quartile. So now there's 1, 2, in this data, this was the 18th number, right? That means there's 17 numbers here. So I'm going to take my 17 numbers and divide it in half, and I get 8.5. So the 9th number is Q1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's my 9th number.
Nothing 6.
6.
That's right.
How'd you?
Ask the question.
I'm confused. Like, I know how you got Q1. I just can't. Why did you do that?
Because you do this.
Because it's, okay, if I went to dual page display, now writing the list isn't, like writing 35 numbers is crazy. Writing 17 numbers is a lot, but it doesn't take nearly as long. So it's okay, and I'm not going to give you as many numbers on the test, just so you know. But if you look at the numbers from the dots, there's a 4 and a 4, right, if I started writing that list. And then there's 5, 5, 5, 5. So I'm taking those dots and I'm making a list. There's 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, right? And I'm going to keep going. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7s. Okay? 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. It's not very practical, but it's doable. There are my 17 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 numbers. You asked the question, right? You probably should pay attention.
Yeah, sorry.
So the 8th number, because if I take 17 and divide it in half, I get 8.5.
So you rounded.
So the 9th number is the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And that's our Q1.
That's Q1.
So it's
Okay.
So it's the middle of the top half or the bottom half. It's the middle of the lower part, Peter.
How do you identify the
Because they're smaller numbers. The higher part starts with
Start with the largest one?
one of the 8s, right? So look back at this data. So that's this number 8 divided, this right here, divided the data into the lower half. So all of these numbers are part of the lower half. Okay? All of these numbers are part of the upper half of the data. because the 8 is the median. It splits the data into 2 groups.
Oh, so if you find the median, then you can split it, right?
Right.
Okay.
So now, rather than making a list, because that's a lot of work, I know that there's 17 numbers here also. So I'm going to do 17 divided by 2 still, and I would still get 8.5, so I'm still going to go to the 9th number, but I'm going to go from the top.
Top of what?
The top of the data, 10 being, this is the top of the last number.
No, like, I'm just confused.
What are you doing? Casey? Haley? We got 8 minutes before you take this test of class time. It's time to pay attention. Stop writing on yourself, whatever it is you're doing. So when I say the top, it's a good question. You have to go from the highest number. So 10, 10, 10. The next highest would be 9, right? So you have to count 9 data points in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Did I count wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. So I'm just going to double check. I could have gone from the median up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'd still end up here.
Okay.
That's Q3. So it's the middle of the top.
Wait, why did you go straight to Q3 instead of Q2? Yeah.
Good question. Remember Q2, this is Q1. It's such a weird thing, isn't it? Q2 is the median.
Oh, so you just
And they just call it the middle.
So they just ignore it, and then Q3 is 9.
So it's the two after.
Yeah, so your box goes between here and here,
I'm so smart to feel like that.
and then your whisker go to here. And
Oh my god, I got that right too.
your box and whisker plot is going to look like that, and your median is 8.
Okay, and I have one other thing then.
Okay?
I got my flip part.
I'm listening, Sevi.
So, like, I'm also confused on where, like, the range would go where the median.
It doesn't. Only the median. Not everything goes on a big box and whisker plot. The lowest number, the highest number, Q1, Q3, and the median. The mean doesn't show up on there.
Oh, is there no such thing as Q4?
Yeah, no. Haley.
So with the range, I added up all the numbers.
Well, that's
and
wrong. The range is the highest minus the lowest.
so it wouldn't be that like highest
Haley?
of all the data.
It's the highest number minus the lowest number. The mean is adding up all the numbers and dividing by how many there are. Okay? That's different.
Yeah.
So the mean is different. The range is just the highest minus the lowest. We don't have time to work through the whole mean, but to do the mean, we started it yesterday. You would have taken, and we can do that if you have a question in class. Tuesday, but just to show you, and then if you're still a little rusty on the statistics, you could do this type of stuff, you could do that type of problem Wednesday and not do that part on the test on Tuesday. But if you just aren't sure about the mean, without doing everything, you would say there's 2 4s, so 2 times 4, plus 4 times 5, and you would add all of the values. There's 5 times 6, and then there's 6 times 7, and then there's 8 times 9, and then 9 times 6, and then 10 times 3, and you'd add all of that and divide by 35 because that's how many dots there are. When you do that, you get this. The last thing I'm going to do right now is just make a summary statement. And it could be looking at all of these things here. We would probably say the typical student has a house with about, yeah, for the students in this picture, right? the typical house, not every house, but just in typical house, has about 8 rooms. Why is that so unreasonable?
Wait, 8 rooms, like, including bathroom.
You don't know where this is, guys.
It'd be like, check it.
That's a big house in a city.
Manchester.
That's a very typical house in Louisville.
But does it count like the, I know where there's like bathrooms. Yeah, it's
It could. 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen, maybe a family room,
2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms, maybe a master bathroom, and a mud room, and a basement, or a living room. It's not unusual, Peter.
And here, what I can get about,
Garage.
is,
Hold on, guys. Yes.
what I didn't get about the I got 7.3, but I didn't know if I should round down or just keep it there, so I rounded down.
You shouldn't. I can't remember exactly what we got for 7. I want to say we got 6.
I got like 9.
We could do that one Monday, but your answers here should be 0, 0 for City Hall, the middle school.
We don't have Monday. We don't have Monday. Tuesday, you mean.
You know what I mean, right?
Thursday of next week. You know what I mean. That's always fun.
You know what I mean.
Okay. One thing, guys, before you start packing up, I will post this before I leave. I'll post 2 things. I'm gonna wait till it's quiet. I'm actually gonna post this as a work, just a piece of paper you could print up off of the website. And I'll also post the video.